it's kind of interesting because I have been there for last 34 years in this business of running markets. When I joined in 91, 92, there were around 1 million people investing in stock markets. Unique individuals, 10 lakh. Today, there are 11 crore unique investors. That is literally 110 times more people. And that is something which I have seen with my own eyes. Why do people invest in stocks? And what is investment in stock? I mean, there is a theory in economics which says that low per capita income countries do not have good capital markets, good equities market. Why? Because poor people cannot save. And if they save, they don't trust even their brothers. How will a person sitting in Srinagar or Dibrugarh or Jorhat will put her hard saved, not hard earned, but hard saved, 1,000 rupees or 500 rupees into somebody running a company in Salem in Tamil Nadu, which she is never going to visit. But she has that complete confidence that that entrepreneur who she is putting her money in has made her a partner. And he is going to work completely, fully for her. So whatever business profits come, that small little fraction of that profit which she owns as a share will come back to her. It's such a great leap of faith on her behalf to be investing that 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees, sitting away 2,000 kilometers, not knowing the promoters, not knowing entrepreneurs. And for me, that is what I call the trust. Trust of whom? Trust of ordinary Indians, that poor Indians, into other poor entrepreneurs. Of course, I can see some rich entrepreneurs also sitting here, but it's for me in 78 years of independence, right? 1947 and 2025. 78 years of independence. What have we earned as a nation? For me, we have earned trust by our entrepreneurs of our people. I think that is the statement that is coming out. And 11 crore, it may look like a very small fraction of India's population. It is not, because 11 crore people is actually 8.5 crore households. India has give and take 35 crore households. So almost 1/4, between 22 to 23% of all households in India now directly invest, either through mutual funds or into stocks. Sort of investing into trust markets. Prices may go up, prices may go down. So that is one explanation, that our entrepreneurs have generated that trust. Of course, our parliament needs to be applauded, our judiciary, our regulators, our exchanges, but the relationship of trust is between the entrepreneur and the investor, right? And that's for me a great statement. It's where in what we call equity cult. Today, our 22% of people investing is larger in percentage compared to even France or Germany or other developed markets. And that is telling you that Indians are more trusting of their entrepreneurs than those developed, so-called developed countries. And that is, I think, what is the statement that comes out.
It's an important point about trust and entrepreneurship, and we could separately debate about whether the system in India, especially the regulatory and bureaucratic system, trusts our entrepreneurs, but I'll leave that for later. How much of a role has technology, the ease of access, digitalization had in the rise of the equity cult, from an era where you had to fill forms to now being able to do it virtually in seconds on multiple apps? How much has technology played a role? And you yourself are a technologist, therefore that question to you.
For me, the technology changes everything. Technology is the only change that happens in the world. The rest of the world actually dances and surrounds it. And all the changes happen are primarily due to and only due to technology. There is no other change that happens in the human societies. And the stock markets in India are like primordial reason of bringing information technology into India. We had billionaires happening after 98, 2000 and all in Y2K world. Now we call it VUCA, but basically 92, 93, when NSE was conceptualized, there are not too many computers in India. Telephone lines used to take 5 years to come to your house, and if you have to make it work, you have to pay a lot of bribe to the bridesman. You might recall the linesmen were the largest dowry seekers in those days, right? And so in those days, the policymakers visualized an exchange which would be completely automated, screen-based. There was no screen-based trading in the world. I mean, NASDAQ is considered screen-based those days, but it was actually screen where you get the quotes, and then if you had to trade, you had to actually call people on the other side who had placed the quote. So there was no screen-based order matching system, but our visionaries of policymakers, they decide that you will set up an automated exchange, and we were actually, when I was part of implementing that, and we said, how will we implement when we don't even have telephone lines? And that's where we decided to move on satellite, because satellites were there, we were not using. And that's how a completely in-your-face use of IT happened with setting up of NSE in 1994. Anywhere in India, you could get a response time in less than 2 seconds. And that was the information technology that slowly seeped into India. It was the first public digital infrastructure of India. It was the first fintech of India. It's still the largest fintech of India. But more importantly, it was also the mother of IT. Of course, later on, billionaires started writing books and they became wise people, because billions, when you get, you become wise. But otherwise, it happened, it started with NSE, right? And for me, on the other side, the stock markets actually brought that transparency which was lacking on floor, because floor could handle only 1,000 people at a time, maximum. And this allowed millions of people to see it on screens first and then on their mobile. And I think I recall vividly in 2014 when Mr. Modi became Prime Minister, India had 16 million, that is 1.6 crore investors. When COVID started, we had around 25 million, that is 2.5 crore investors. And then in last 5 years, now we have 11 crore investors, almost 4 times before COVID. Why it happened is because of variety of reasons, but marginal cost of servicing an investor has now become a zero. Otherwise, you have to go to, say, Ladakh and attract investors. You have to set up a branch, which was true with banks also. And that's why banks could not reach, right? That's how Jan Dhan Aadhar Mobile, through mobile, reached out. And then when the COVID happened, the physical KYC was removed by SEBI, saying that now that you can't reach people's houses, go personally to check their incomes and other things, you can do KYC on video. So video KYC is what allowed all our brokers to move out into the hinterland and sort of get people to invest. Of course, returns on the stock markets were much higher than what you would get on the fixed deposits, and that's where also people came in. But there are many, many reasons, but one is the cost of new investor coming down from anywhere in the world, I mean anywhere in the country, came down close to zero, and the video KYC allowed to do it much faster, and that's where we could gather all those investors. And today I have 11 crore unique investors, but literally 21.5 crore accounts. Each, pretty much every investor on an average is getting almost 2 accounts, like everyone is getting 2 SIM cards. So that's how it's happening.
That's a very detailed explanation of how market have evolved, especially in the last 4 to 5 years. Is there a flip side to it, Ashish, in the sense that has this ease of access, ease of selling and purchase also increased risk taking? Has it led to irresponsible behavior or greed, which is fundamental to markets, where a lot of people, without realizing the complexities of the market, the uncertainties with regard to returns, and this whole F&O boom, where a lot of people have been hit. There are several studies which say that very few retail investors actually make money. Is the ease of access actually responsible for that as well?
I think there are many facts, and then there are many analyses, as I think Gaur Prabhu said, right? And everyone has a view based on where they are looking at the elephant. Because we are all blind men describing elephant wherever we touch. That is how it works. So to give you a perspective, in last 3 years, despite market now going down, Indian investors, that is the retail investors, not the promoters of the companies who own around almost 50% of India's capital markets, the retail investors have made 40 lakh crore rupees after cutting for derivatives losses. There are 11 crore investors. Around today, 25 to 30 lakh investors trade in derivatives once a month, which is around 2% of the investors and some percent of the total population, right? Out of those people who are trading in derivatives at least once, 88% also invest in equities. So it's that probably they are making money in equities. They might be losing money in derivatives.
So since you mentioned television, I want to ask you, what about these so-called influencers on all manner of social media platforms, not regulated, outside the reach of most people? We don't know who they are, what they are up to, yet they proliferate. So it's interesting you spoke about television, but what about those people? Aren't they also equally responsible?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's television is because you're sitting in front of me, but otherwise influencers are equally, and many of them are irresponsible. And what is the difference between a television or an influencer now? Everyone has the same loudspeaker, right? And so there is a lot of noise and very little signal, right? And at the same time to say that influencers are bad, but we are regulated so we can do it. That is where I also think there has to be some sort of a balance to be maintained, that people who are traditional mediums, do they still have to do it? Or only influencers have to be blamed, and those kind of things.
Because April is going to be a very interesting time for our markets, not only because of the other steps that are supposed to come into effect from the 1st of April. On 2nd April, by all reckoning, we will see reciprocal tariffs hit many parts of the world, from the United States, perhaps India as well, although there is a meeting that might help us prevent that. Is it therefore time for SEBI to sort of step back and perhaps pause, given what's happened in the markets, Mr. Chauhan?
Broadly, I think SEBI has, I mean, all the measures relating to derivatives have happened.